To the students of Ravenwood High School, 3 years ago today, I was sitting where most of you all are, 1 month away from graduating and moving on to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. All I could think about was graduating and getting the heck out of here. I was so ready to go to college and be on my own and do whatever I wanted. At this point in my life, I drank on the weekends with friends, but never really thought I was doing anything out of the ordinary. I was about to graduate with 3.6 GPA, 6 hours of college credit, and school virtually paid for. I had everything going for me and not a care in the world, but little did I know that not even a year later, I would be sitting in a jail cell, having just ended another man's life, wondering if I'd ever be free again. I had just gone to college and everything was great. I found a great group of friends, joined a fraternity, and was living the time of my life. Was I doing a little more partying and hanging out than studying? Sure, but who wasn't? At least that's how I justified it to myself. Looking back, I may have been living similarly to other students, but I was definitely living too recklessly and irresponsibly, and my luck was bound to run out. As spring rolled around, you could feel the excitement in the air as everyone made their plans in groups for spring break trips. Whether Panama City, Destin, or Hilton Head, no one's mind was on anything but the beach and the parties that go along with it. My buddies and I worked at one of our dad's houses for extra cash to fix my car and have a little spending money for our own on our PCB trip. We made the 8-hour trip from Chat on Sunday morning, March 8th, 2014, with the intention of staying for a week with my mother's boyfriend. If we had only known then what we know now. The next day at the beach with some friends from school, we had a few drinks, then ended up hanging out with some girls we met at the other school, at a pool across the street. We started to get pretty tired around 7 or 8 o'clock and decided to head back where we were staying to shower and rest up for the night to come. As we walked to the car, I vividly remember my best friend Mike asking if I was okay to drive. I felt like I was fine and sober, and the most sober out of the three of us, and did not want to call for someone for a ride. I said I felt fine and could make it home. On the way home, we decided to stop at a McDonald's, and while we were backing out of my parking spot on the way out, I wasn't paying close enough attention and backed into a parked vehicle behind me. It was a vacationing mother, and as I was pleaded with her not to call the police, she did. A Panama City Beach police officer called and came and made a field report, and remember, I'm 18 years old, asked me if I had been drinking. I decided to be honest and tell him I was, thinking that I was done for anyway. He responded by saying, "Okay, we'll handle that later." Then he finished the report, told us to have a good night, and told me I should go home. At this point in time, I'm thinking that I'm just as sober as I thought I was, and more than capable of making the drive home, especially if a police officer just told me to, right? Wrong. 25 minutes later down the road, I fell asleep at the wheel for a second, long enough for me to cross into the other lane, hitting a 3-wheeled golf cart on its driver's side. I caused it to spin and eject the 22-year-old driver, Brandon Beverly from Knoxville, Tennessee, out of the vehicle. He struck his head when he landed and died from blunt head trauma. Just another young guy, slightly intoxicated, doing the same thing I was, whose life is now over because I was too stupid to make the responsible decision and find a sober ride. 9 months after the accident, I was found guilty of DUI manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation. With good behavior, I'll be released from prison when I'm 28 years old. I'm haunted every night and day by the fact that I took another man's life. I know that I nor his family will ever be the same again. Everything I have is gone. I'll have to fight tooth and nail and completely restart my life when I get out, all for one dumb decision I made on spring break. I'm writing you all this letter from a Florida prison called the Northwest Florida Reception Center Annex. I have spent the last 15 months of my life here. I'm 20 years old and have another 7.5 years before I'll be able to see the outside of these gates as a free man. My reasoning for sharing this story with you is not to try to stop you from vacationing with friends or even from drinking, because 9 in 10 of you will regardless. I write you this to show that although you may not think so, yes, this can happen to you. You're not a number and you must be responsible. I ask you please, please make the right decision and find a sober ride. I would give anything, literally anything in the world to be back where you are now, but I can't. And the only thing I can do is try to get through to each and every one of you that with just one bad decision, life as you know it can be over. I was just like you, only 3 short years ago, but now, all I can ask you is to not be just like me.